It undermines, I think what we should try to do is we want to recognize people as individuals. And if people are as individuals, then everybody is treated equally. That means nobody is punished because they belong to a group, but nobody should get any advantages because they belong to a group either. So this is something that I think young people seem to understand and welcome this message. The campuses do welcome the message of personal liberty, making their own decisions. I think the reason why they accept this idea when I emphasize responsibility, that if you get your right to your life and you can make all your own personal decisions, you have to assume responsibility if you make bad choices. You can't go to the government and expect the government to take care of you because you made bad choices. At the same time, if you make bad economic choices, the same consequences. But if you have a natural right to your life and a natural right to your liberty, you ought to have a natural right to keep the fruits of your labor and give you an incentive to work hard and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that the changes that are occurring are very positive. I don't think it's going to be magic and it's going to be corrected in a day or two. First, you have to have the philosophic revolution. That is what's going on. There's a lot of big changes. In the 1950s and the 1960s, it was very difficult to find the information I was searching for. And there was no internet. The professors weren't even, there were no professors. Now there are a lot more who at least know and understand it. Last night when I was speaking at UCLA, I was amazed, even though it's happened before, I'm still impressed. You know, as I give my talk, which is, you know, sort of off the top of my head, I frequently will come up with the statement saying, well, what we need to do is we need to understand the Austrian economists, we need to read Mises or something like that, and you get cheers for this. I mean, what's going on? Like this, it's not surprising, but you know, on the average college campuses, that's pretty encouraging to find out that the message is getting out, and this is why it's going to be very positive. People get despondent, so how are we ever going to change all those politicians in Washington? By us changing our minds and us sending the messages to Washington. You know, last year we got the Audit the Fed bill passed in the House of Representatives. We had every Republican sign on. They didn't care about the Fed. They didn't understand it. They didn't understand it all. But what did they do? They heard from people like you. They said, get on the bill. You know, so, but they respond to the noise they hear because they have one goal in life, and that is to stay in office. And so and you say, well, that's you know, terrible that those kind of people there. But that's the way a lot of people are. A lot of times, mostly throughout history, they do respond to the pressures that they get. But what about the pressure just recently that the members of Congress got on Stop Online Piracy Act? They heard from the people.
Yeah.
That's not to say that it's an easy sell and we can just turn on a switch and all of a sudden we're going to see these changes. But what it does say is when the people's attitudes change, Congress will change as well. You don't have to remove all 435. There's enough people there that... have you ever heard that sometimes politicians flip-flop and will change your viewpoint? Well, let's have them flip-flop on the right direction. That's what we have to make them do. We should be definitely encouraged by what is happening. I certainly am. I'm much more encouraged when I leave Washington than when I'm in Washington. There's no doubt about that. But when I meet the people outside of Washington, whether it's on the college campuses or with people like you who have supported the campaign, both by hard work and effort and financially, because Ron Paul isn't going to do very much if the people aren't there supporting it. I'm secondary to the whole issues of what liberty is all about, and the message has to be spread. I just happen to be in a position where there's a little bit of attention given to us and our message. So this is us coming together and promoting this, and this is the most important thing that we do. The election is very, very important. The election is not over. We don't know what the results are going to be. But to think that this election is going to be the end of it and the solution, either one way or the other, that we're not going to be closed out, and even with a victory, you're not going to have a perfect result right away. It does take time, but this is where we're gaining. We're really having an impact and having the changes that are necessary and getting people to understand. But there's a couple, common sense. A lot of people will tell me, well, I like what you say because it's common sense. I think what we're talking about, I think freedom is common sense. But the common sense is intertwined by the fact that the system is failing. The economic system has failed. This intrusion in our personal life, it's too much, and we're sick and tired of it. It doesn't help us in any way. And our foreign policy is failing. So this means that the opportunities there, and people are recognizing this, certainly the young people that are in college. And they're getting out. They're getting out with big debts and difficulties getting jobs. And they know they're getting a system that is bankrupt. And that's why the fighting is going on in Washington. It's because we're bankrupt and nobody wants to admit it. When we had wealth and when we had a lot of money in the Treasury and we were the creditor nation of the world, we're the debtor nation of the world. Now, the compromises between those on left and right used to be pretty frequent because they were just divvying up the loot. But there's no loot anymore, so now they're fighting. They're fighting and screaming at each other and blaming each other because the pie has shrunk. There's not much there and the productivity is down. So that is bad. It's bad for us, but it also makes the point that we better concentrate on productivity. And don't let anybody get away with believing that the government provides these services. Not too long ago, I had an interview, and he was complaining about, well, I think it was Piers Morgan, and I think he has an accent. He says, in our country, we got free medicine. You know, I said, don't give me this stuff for free. There's nothing, you know, about it. Ain't no such thing as a free lunch, buddy. And there's no such thing as free medicine. It's just a redistribution of the costs, and wrecking the medical care is what they do when they claim it's free. Just like giving everybody a free house. Look how that ended up. The rich got richer and the poor lost their house. So, but the opportunity is there, and that is what is so wonderful. Should encourage us. The numbers are growing by leaps and bounds. And besides, it is so much fun. You just go do this campaigning, all these things on your honeymoon. Who knows what we get into?